Welcome to Unlocking Fertility, and I'm really excited for today's episode where I'm going to explain to you all about remote acupuncture treatments. And yes, you heard that right, remote acupuncture treatments, which you're probably thinking now, like, what the fuck does that mean? And that makes sense. And by the end of this, you will understand what it means. And I hope you feel just as excited about it as I do. So let's jump in. First, I want to start by defining what acupuncture is. So acupuncture today is defined as a therapeutic practice from traditional Chinese medicine, which very thin, sterile needles are inserted into specific points on the body to influence the flow of qi, energy, and restore balance in the body's systems. I think it's important to understand a few things here. One, the needles are not doing the work when it comes to acupuncture. Needles are just these thin little metal things. They're sometimes made of silver or gold, but it's the energy and the intention behind the needle that's doing the work, which is why, amongst other things, not all acupuncturists and not all acupuncture is created equal. Acupuncture cannot be effective if just done by anyone, right? Anyone can insert needles. That doesn't mean it's going to be effective. There needs to be a cultivated energy and an intention behind it, right? Where is the energy of that needle sending? What is it telling your body to do? And that is a really important part to understand about acupuncture in general, but also as we dive into talking about what remote acupuncture is. To better understand this, let's dive into a quick history of acupuncture in Chinese medicine. And this is going to be quick because history is not my thing. But Chinese medicine started over 5,000 years ago. And needles were not introduced until 3,000 years ago. We're not talking about sterile, fine needles that we have today. We're talking about thick stone needles that most likely did not enter the body. The needles they had 3,000 years ago, even 2,000 years ago, are not the needles they had today. And 5,000 years ago, when the medicine started, and honestly, it probably started before that, but that's when it was first documented, it started without the use of needles at all. Chinese medicine and acupuncture started out as a shamanic healing practice. And when I say shamanic healing, I mean without the use of needles, without the use of touch. It's using energy to transform energy in someone's body. And when I'm doing remote treatments today, that's still the same way I practice it. You know, a better way to think about it, if remote acupuncture treatments sound too woo-woo to you, is just to think about remote energy healing. The same way you would get Reiki done either in person or remotely where they're not physically touching your body, or the same way you would have a psychic medium reading where you're not in the room with that person or the spirit's not in the room with you, but it's still a transference of energy. And when I do remote acupuncture treatments today, it's the same thing. It's the transference of energy. But for you to better understand this, first I want to go over with you how I started doing remote acupuncture treatments and more about the science behind it, so I think that you'll really get it. So my introduction into remote energy healing did not start with acupuncture. It was in 2021. I was going through a tough period, and I listened to a podcast where the shaman Lisa Watts was on, and I really connected with her story, and I was like, I have to work with her. And she works in California, so I looked up her website. It said she did remote treatments. I reached out to her, and we did a session. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot of reservations about doing a remote session, because to me, I trusted her from listening to her. I also knew someone who knew her. And if she felt confident doing remote treatments, I felt confident getting remote treatments from her. That being said, I could understand someone's hesitation to it. But after the first session, I could feel the energy. I could feel the energy moving, and I felt like a different person. And so over the next year, I continued to work with Lisa remotely, doing energy healing sessions. And from a shamanic perspective, she worked a lot on the chakras and soul information and soul guidance. And I could literally feel what she was doing in my body, right? I felt the energy movement. I felt my body shaking. I felt the hot, the cold. Like, my body felt different before and after. And then what just unfolded in my life was changing. So I could tell that these treatments were working, and I got really into it and really interested in it. So then I started to work with Lisa to better understand the medicine, the shamanic healing practices, and remote healing. So I started to work with Lisa more on a basis of apprentice, like trying to understand and learn from her. And that's when I first started introducing remote energy healing into my practice in about 2022. And I started off more with shamanic healing on a chakra level, right? And realigning people's chakras in their body remotely And I had a lot of success with that. I helped women with previous miscarriages maintain pregnancies. I helped women get pregnant who didn't think they could get pregnant, all with the remote energy healing. And then in 2023, I started Anne Cecil Sturman's mentorship for classical acupuncture. And that again transformed and changed my life and my relationship to the medicine and energy healing. So in the mentorship, Anne would do remote transmissions of the channel so that everyone on the call could understand and really feel the energy of the channel. Because as a practitioner, you really need to be able to feel the energy to properly practice it, right? If you haven't had this work done to you, it's really hard to do it to someone else. And again, through these transmissions, I could really feel the energy and the changes. And through Anne, I learned how to do remote transmission of Chinese medicine acupuncture channels. And that's now how I practice remotely today. I use the channels of classical Chinese medicine. And I say classical Chinese medicine specifically because TCM is different. TCM is medicine that was created in the 90s under the Communist Party of Mao. And in TCM, they take out a lot of the constitutional energy channels. So in Chinese medicine, there's over 68 energy channels. In TCM, there's only 12. So TCM has a lot of limitations. Classical Chinese medicine does not. So I've been practicing Chinese medicine since 2017. I've been practicing remote healing since 2022. And I've been practicing remote acupuncture since 2023. And I've seen miraculous results, which I want to go into more at the end. But now I want to get into a little bit about the science behind remote healing because I think it's really interesting. And I'll be honest, science is not my thing. I'm much more into spirituality and intuition, but I think sometimes understanding the science can help for our practical brain to connect with the spiritual and our intuition. So first we need to start by understanding the concept that everything is energy, right? At the basis of everything, it's energy. Albert Einstein discovered in the 20th century, all matter is a form of energy. Everything is energy. At the basis of every cell and molecule and atom, what we are left with is simply energy. Every cell generates small currents. And a really lovely example I love of this is I went to the Liberty Science Center in New Jersey with my kids one day, and they had this wonderful exhibit of sound creating movement. So it's like a tube with sound going through it, little balls moving, and as you change the volume of the sound, you change the pitch, it changes the movements of these little bubbles. But what it shows to us is that sound has an energy. It has a physical energy that can create movement. And just like sound, everything in life, everything in your body, everything in your form, your thoughts, your beliefs, the words that you speak, the air that you breathe, everything is energy. Another way science has proven this to us is through heart energy, heart and brain energy. Your heart and brain produce measurable electromagnetic fields. It can be detected several feet from your body with sensitive instruments. And your brain also has measurable electromagnetic energy. Right outside of the brain, we can measure its energy. And this was discovered by Hans Berger, a German psychiatrist in 1924. And we now call this brain waves, right? Brain energy. So I'm telling you this because all of this proves that these fields of our body, right, of our organs, of our energy, extend beyond the body, creating what we now call a biofield. And so we now understand scientifically that everything is just energy. We're all energy. We're all emitting energy. Let's talk about a little bit of the concept of distance when it comes to that energy. And to do that, let's dive into quantum physics. So what that is saying is that everything has an energy, has a vibration that expands across the universe. This means that there is one electron field for all electrons that exist. There's one photon field for all light. There's one quark field for all matter. Everything is part of a set of fundamental fields that permeates all of space. And Einstein describes this interconnectedness poetically when he says, "We are part of a whole called us the universe." And what this all means is that we are all connected. And just like mushrooms are connected through mycelium, all humans are connected, right? We all have our own network. And this is what we see in Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine is a Taoist practice, and the center of Taoism is that we are all one. We're all connected. And an interesting part of Chinese medicine and acupuncture that I don't think many people realize is that all of our channels are connected. All of our energy channels come from the same source, and all of our energy channels are connected, right? So we're this beautiful interconnected species through our acupuncture channels, which is like a network of communication the same way mushrooms have their network of communication. So how remote energy healing works is that when I'm doing remote energy healing, I'm working with these energy fields, these connected energy fields that go across distances, that have no relation to space or time. Energy healing simply involves subtle shifts, right, of these energy fields, which then influence cellular communication and nervous system regulation. What neuroscience research has discovered is that focused attention and focused intention influence brain activity, especially in areas associated with emotional and autonomic regulation. And so again, all that is telling us that intention can change anything. And in neuroscience, what they've discovered is that focused attention and intention has made measurable changes in neurotransmitters, hormone levels, and even immune markers. And all the science, quantum physics, neuroscience, energy science, all of this is proving is what we have known in Chinese medicine for over 5,000 years, which is that energy is everything. And so what I'm doing in remote acupuncture treatments is I'm activating that energy channel in my body with the intention of sending it to your body. Because remember, attention and intention can make huge impacts. So what I'm doing is I'm really connecting with your energy field. Because again, our energy fields, they're all connected and they all transmit outside of our bodies. And to give you some examples of how this has worked in my practice in really measurable ways, let me tell you about some of my patients. Some really interesting things, and I want to just give measurable things here because I think that's easier to understand. So I had a patient who came to me and she recently had thumb surgery. She was just out of thumb surgery. And we did a remote energy healing. We did it based on the sinew channels to remove the blockages caused by the surgery. And when she went into her doctor the next week, her doctor was extremely surprised by how fast her thumb was healing, based on that one session, that one treatment that we did. I had a patient who had a hematoma during pregnancy, a uterine hematoma, right? Again, something that they saw in an ultrasound that was measurable. And we worked together, and over the weeks, as she went back to her appointments, the hematoma shrunk to the point that it was no longer there. And again, this is all through remote energy work. I had a patient who had 2 reoccurring miscarriages who came to me and was, she had no problem getting pregnant, but she had trouble staying pregnant. And after 2 months of doing remote energy work, she was able to get pregnant, maintain a healthy pregnancy, and has a child now. I had a patient who came to me because she was feeling really stuck at work. A lot of people don't realize I do treat more than just fertility, and a lot of what I treat isn't even physical aspects. I treat women and people for a lot of emotional things. So I had a woman come to me because she felt really stuck in work. She had started a new career as a women's business coach, and she was having trouble showing up on social media. She was having trouble getting clients to come in. So we did one remote energy healing session, and she emailed me a few weeks later saying how different she felt, how she was showing up on social media, how it's helped a lot, and how she had landed her first set of clients. I had a patient with fibroids that I treated remotely that then after 3 months, the fibroids disappeared. So I'm just giving you these examples to show you measurable instance that remote energy healing had a big impact on the body. And acupuncture in Chinese medicine has been proven. One of the only medicines that's been around for over 5,000 years because it works, right? If it didn't work, we wouldn't still have it. And discovering remote energy healing has been such a blessing for me because now I get to help women all over the world. And it's been helpful for me because now I can get treated in the luxury of my apartment and my living room, which cuts back on time. And I also don't need to walk out of an office into a busy street, right? And that's really the beauty of remote treatments, is that you can do it at any time, any location, that you get to relax in your own setting after it's done, because a lot of times these treatments can be deep and there can be a lot of movement in your body, and it might just feel good to rest afterwards. If you don't understand something, try it. That's the best way to understand something. But I hope this explained to you a little bit more about my remote work and my remote energy healing treatments. I also just want to mention in all of my remote work, it also includes nutrition advice, lifestyle advice, and guidance on other aspects of your life, because whenever I'm working with a complete set of Chinese medicine. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. If you found this episode interesting or enlightening, please like, share, and comment. I really appreciate your support. It means a lot to me. And as always, if you need personalized support or you have questions, please reach out to me. All of my information is in the show notes, or you can find me on social media.